Welcome, very special episode of MLR Kickoff. I was going to say welcome to the point taken, welcome to Pato and the Panther, but it's not, it's MLR Kickoff. James Patterson, not only joining us for the show, but joining me in person in the studios. You know, I've got the studio in the basement of my estate here. What is that, under the West Wing or East Wing? Where are we?
I think this is the West Wing. It's really difficult to find because I had to walk past about 30 motivational quotes all over the wall here, just brick by brick, step by step.
Yeah. That's how we build it. That's how we build the empire. Rome wasn't built in a day. Major League Rugby wasn't built in a day, but we're going to get there. Well, Pato, great having you here, mate. What do you think of the games on the weekend? A couple of really interesting results as we start that build, that crescendo towards the playoffs.
I think what's important watching some of the games in the weekend is like you talk about teams being able to separate themselves in those key moments in games. And we've talked about New England for so long about, you know, are they the real deal this year? Can they close out? And that game against New York, that was a special finish. And for them to be able to come through, and it's on the back of obviously behind their playmaker Waka, but it's been fun to watch some of these teams.
What do you think of the Waka-Boyle combination 10-15, having two 10s on the field at the same time?
I liked it. And if you watch that game, their ability to be able to change direction, you saw that actually through some of the games in the weekend, and San Diego was really good with it with Hooley as well, is when you've got that playmaker or that extra vision to be able to size up the field against the defense, especially when the defenses are trying to play so aggressive, it's opening up a lot of space on the outside, and you're seeing a lot of cutback tries.
Yeah. Now, we didn't see Weiss Naholo. Administrative issues, we'll throw that in inverted commas, administrative issues kept him off the field this weekend. Would he have made a difference on Sunday?
You know what? Yeah, he would have made a difference. I mean, that guy cannot not make a difference in a game.
Yeah.
What's the administrative issues? Did he leave his boots at home?
Administrative issues usually something to do. Remember when you were a kid and you weren't registered, or your cousin from Tonga was in town and they didn't have a birth certificate and you just threw them in anyway? I think it might have been something like that. But good performances. Who was your A grade? Who made A grade on the weekend for you in Major League Rugby?
Talking about teams or players?
Teams. We'll go teams first, then players.
Obviously, Free Jacks, ATL. I think they were clinical, and they just continue to impress. And on the back of a really solid performance by their full pack, they're executing the way that we saw them do last year in terms of being able to get pressure on, put downfield, and then really use their driving maul as a huge weapon. They were great. Surprised by Houston.
Yeah,
I think the Arrows just didn't show up at all. But Houston, you know, they're still there. We haven't written them off.
Fourth place in the West. I think they're a point behind Seattle. So they are rapping at the door, so to speak. Who's the Reggies? Who goes back to reserve grade for you this weekend on the team front?
In the weekend, you know, you have to look at San Diego and the opportunity that they had to be able to come through, but just ill-disciplined. We're talking about late in the season, 3 yellow cards in one game. I know 2 were at the end and kind of inconsequential when you talk about Nonu and Bowman getting carded, but key discipline issues at key points in that game really cost them. So I think they went backwards. And then, you know, I mean, we kind of got the reserve grade now establishing where you have NOLA. They've slipped back. Utah, you know, still having some issues trying to find things. I think, you know, Seattle did enough. They weren't that impressive, but I think Utah was less impressive.
Yeah, and obviously Seattle running into some card issues too for Ricard Hatting there. So, again, Utah losing at home.
Yeah,
it's the second time that Seattle got them there last year as well in the corresponding game. So the Seawolves getting it done. They're in the top 3 in the West. They had a little run there in the middle of the season where they just didn't look good.
No.
Injuries and form, but they seem to be coming back into form, at least winning at the right time of the year.
And if you look at that conference, really there's 3 teams, you know, vying for those spots. You've got Seattle, Houston, and San Diego.
Yeah.
Vying for that 3rd spot. And if you look, I don't think there's any debate, although who knows? Yeah, the Giltinis, they've proven themselves well. But what happens now? So what, IE's gone for 3 games?
Yep.
So he's 3 games. So what, Burton slots into 10? Has to.
Yeah, you'd think so. They're coming off a bye week.
Yeah.
People who follow a lot of the players, instead of recruiting, I think maybe they went to Coachella to do some recruiting. It looks like the whole squad was at Coachella having a great time. So who knows? Who knows? Maybe Calvin Harris, the DJ, might be playing 10 on the 1s and 2s, now playing 10, distributing the ball there. But yeah, LA and Austin, they're drivers' seat. Again, they were clinical weekend, just did everything they needed to do. They continue to get it done. Really, is it Free Jacks, Austin, for you? Is that your final right now? If you had to put 100 on it,
I'd go Atlanta.
You think Atlanta's got them?
I think Atlanta. For me, I think that they're just too disciplined as well and clinical. And I think their set piece is good. Who knows? At the end of the day, if you're looking at the Free Jacks and how they've been playing, the urges, can they keep it up? You look at defensively their players. So they've got, what is it, in the leading 3 players. So what, McDowell, Johnson's
going to be in there, right? Oh, Free Jacks.
Yeah, Free Jacks. So you've got McDowell, Johnson, and Larson. They're top three tacklers in the league in terms of, or top 3 out of the 5. So you've got guys putting in big shifts defensively. Can they manage that amount of attrition with how much solid defensive work they do?
Well, look, who just come back. The top tackler from last year, Leon Conrad.
Yeah.
So defensively, is there a stronger team in the league?
I don't think so. So maybe I've actually talked myself out of that.
Yeah,
I think
that was easy.
They're back in the slot.
Easiest 100 I've ever made. All right, let's go A-grade players now. Who was your star of the weekend?
Oh, gosh. It definitely wasn't old Harry Labuschagne getting his second red card. So, discipline's been a bit of an issue.
Do you think the target?
I think there is.
He comes in with a profile and, from the TV show and that stuff. Do you think there's like that unconscious bias against a guy like that?
I wonder what gets said off the ball on the field to him. I mean, being an outside back is already hard enough. You're an easy target, especially when you look like we do, yeah? So
you and Harry, I'll throw myself in there. Sure, why not? Thanks a lot.
I mean, there's been some, I saw some chatter on there talking about like, they think that he's going to be a player that will step on and probably, transition from the league and play at the next level. I mean, he's a physical player.
Yeah.
He's a good player in the game. But again, this is the second time, a tip tackle. Those types of things we can't say it's youth and inexperience. He's got plenty of inexperience. But perhaps that's one of those things that's boiled over by a few extra nudges down at the bottom of the ruck and a few comments about his hairstyle or maybe his Instagram profile.
I'm jealous. I didn't give my A-grade team.
Sorry, I didn't even. Yeah, go ahead.
That's on me. That's on me. I didn't do my reserve grade either because I just try to avoid. I'm hard pressed to go against the Free Jacks. 2 wins on the road in New York. In New Jersey. We don't want to get any flack back from the Free Rangers, the Jacks Rangers. Sorry, not the Free Rangers. Who are the Free Rangers? Just making stuff up now on the fact that they do play in Hoboken, New Jersey. But 2 wins, hostile environment. It actually sounded like a Free Jacks home game at times. When the actual broadcast worked, it sounded like it was a Free Jacks game with the crowd there and travelled down 95 to watch them. Reggie's, it's oh, you know what? We should give a shout out to Old Glory too. 2 in a row.
Yeah,
2 in a row, and they look good against us.
Huh?
Yeah, running hot. Playoffs, maybe not, but I'll go Nola for my reserve grade. I think that's a talented team down there. I just the off season probably wasn't ideal, and I think it's reflecting now and in their performances on the field. So a tough year for Nola, but good people down there. I'm sure they're going to bounce back next year. A-grade player. I'm going to go a little different. Played out of position. JP Smith from Seattle. Thought he was outstanding. Not a big fan of moving 9s to 10s. We saw New York do it with Andy Ellis, and just obviously the caliber of both those guys is so high they can do it, but not a fan of weakening one position to patch up another one. Just do it 10 and play a different game plan. But JP handled it beautifully in Seattle. Win on the road. Looking good into us.
Another player that impressed was O'Connor.
Yeah.
And the loose forward. He's been doing very well. You talk about like plugging a hole for New York and it's been losing Homishes, obviously. He's been a standout.
What's his name again?
Homishes?
No,
did I get it right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like you're coughing something.
But But he has been massive this season. And like, if you look at that and you say like losing a player like that, but then you take a player like O'Connor with so much experience and the ability there for New York, he showed up trumps on the weekend as well. He was really, really good, and he was influential in a lot of players. Him and Emery as well. Emery in the midfield, I really, really like him as a player for New York. So those are two players. I know we're talking about them for a losing side, but they're that close. And if you look at their run home, I think they're going to be a team that really pushes.
You think the three's locked up in the East? You think it's going to be Atlanta, New England, and New York? Toronto, can they get there?
They can. I think they're a game behind from what I see. In terms of they're a game behind New York. So if you look at who Toronto has to play, so Toronto has to play New York, and then they play DC. They play the Jackals, New England, ATL, and then DC. So, New York, though, they've got NOLA. You think they'd pick that game up. The big game against the Arrows.
They have to win that one,
They have to play that one. You got Seattle, ATL, DC, and New England. So
we've had this conversation. Can you imagine last round, New England, New York, Toronto are 2 points ahead. New England beat New York, they're out of the playoffs.
Yeah.
But New England have number one seed locked up. They've got nothing to gain.
Yeah.
What do you do? Does the hate, remember the Star Wars? You let the hate fuel you and all that. So, yes. Or do cooler heads prevail and you rest everyone and let New York get into the playoffs instead of Toronto?
Yeah, I don't know. What do you do? Because then you lose that momentum that you're talking about anyway.
You get the week off because you're the number one seed.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you want that though? Like, okay, let's look at this. If you look at content, how much does that play into things? And does the length of the season mean that you really need that week off? Like in the past, have you ever been involved in a team pushing towards playoffs? Like what happens at the end when you take that week off before you go into a stiff competition?
Wind out of sails.
Yeah. Does the wind come out of your sails?
Yeah.
I think you want to play.
Play to win the game. Home Edwards. Play to win the game.
Brick by brick.
Hey, I've invited him into my inner sanctum here, and he's making fun of some of my stuff I have around in my office. So not cool. Not cool. Give us your best motivational office quote. What was the one that you'd hear and you'd be like, yes, and get you all fired up?
Honestly, there isn't very many because most of the talk towards me in the office was pretty derogatory. It was more like my dad. When I speak about the office, it's me and Dad. Yeah, so he's like, never going to give you any positive.
Even in the playing days?
No, in the playing days it was especially bad.
Oh, yeah.
You'd be like, scored a hat trick. Didn't matter. Did you see how many cold rucks you hit in that game? Dad, I'm a winger. I'm not a loose forward. No, I saw you rest on like 7 or 8 rucks during that game.
So MLR Kickoff has turned into family therapy for the Pattersons. So we're just taking a little turn here, dark turn. I shouldn't have asked. I was hoping you'd be like, say something like, play like a champion or something like that. But all right. Let's shift over to the West Coast now with the run home. This is genuinely 4 going into 3 as well.
Yeah. So what? You've got Seattle, Houston, San Diego.
Well, it's actually 5 going into 3. My apologies. Yeah.
So I think out of the 3 teams, so Seattle, pretty decent run home, although Houston as well. San Diego, do they have enough to get in there? Because if you look at San Diego, they've got the Jackals, they've got NOLA, they play Houston. I think those 3 are winnable games for them.
Yep.
Then you've got to play Atlanta and AG the last game. It's one of these things, can you trip up that last game against the...
Is AG locked up?
Yeah, is they locked up? You just talked about that. So, Houston, the fact that they're still in this now, they kind of look like they were like drifting off, but they've come back in and they're just doing enough, I think. Physically, they're doing well.
They're banged up too. Yeah. So I just wonder if they can get healthy. Can they go on a tear? And it could come down to which of those 3 are the healthiest.
Yeah.
More so than... who's potentially the best 23? Who's the healthiest 23 they can put in the field? Who does Seattle play again? They've got Austin.
Yeah, Austin, the Jackals, New York. That's a tough one for them.
That's a tough back-to-back run.
Houston and the Gilpinis. So, if you have to look at that, Houston, San Diego, they play DC, Seattle, Austin. I don't know. I mean, you'd think it was San Diego, because I think that there's guys like Ben Mitchell playing really well, stepping up. You've got the presence of Hooley. They did get a bit banged up in the weekend. I think Basson went off with a lower body injury, and he's like one of their go forward men on the outside. He's electric. So at the end of the day, it doesn't take many. Like if you drop 2 of those games.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Houston and what have they won a couple in a row now?
Yeah.
So form, success breeds success. Put that one up on the wall as well. Success breeds success. There you go. For all the young ones out there who need that stuff on the wall, like I do. All right. Hey, our brilliant director / producer / everything, Mr. Ginty. Just throw the rundown on the side for us real quick so we can look at the games coming up this weekend that we can dive into. Before we go over to that one, though, where would you like to see the final played this year, if you could choose?
Are we talking like out of the venues?
Yes, current venues.
Current venues. And you have to be in the game?
No, you can pick your own venue.
So neutral venue for a final?
Yeah, potentially.
Yeah, it's a tough question. I think I would put a final in Utah.
Yeah?
Yeah. I'd put a final in Utah. Or maybe Toronto.
It's probably the prettiest. I got a soft spot for Toronto after what happened last year with them being in Atlanta for the whole year. So I would say just put it in Toronto. And I think they would sell it out too. I think they do a really good job there at York Stadium. It's a good venue. I like the idea of Utah, though. Is there a prettier backdrop for a rugby stadium in MLR?
Probably not. I mean, and I think the atmosphere that's built there in that stadium's good. Yeah, it's not too big, but it's big enough that it's intimate and it has a good feel to it. Dallas's field as well. I mean, that looks great. Does it have to be on grass?
And it's central. Yeah. It's grass, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, that's what I mean. Do you prefer a final on grass over turf?
As a player or as a spectator?
It doesn't matter as a spectator, does it?
No, you don't care. You actually probably prefer it on turf because you're going to get a consistent kind of thing. But especially if it's bad weather or something like that, as a player, grass, always grass. So having played on both, and there's 2. If you see a grass field, you're like, oh my God, thank God, when you've had a stretch on turf because your body, your knees and your elbows need a break. Just the skin needs to heal at some point. All right, we've got some games coming up. Let's jump into this weekend, Pato. Kicks off Saturday, 3 p.m. Well, this is the championship replay. It's LA, but on the road at Atlanta, down at Silverback Park there in Atlanta. This is a huge one. Atlanta come off that great road trip to San Diego. LA coming off a bye. Yeah. And probably 3 of the biggest days at Coachella I've ever seen on Instagram from some of them. Who do you have here?
I'm going to go ATL as well because you remember last year and think about the pivotal point in the season it was. What gave ATL the most confidence last year?
Beating LA.
Yeah, and beating them at home.
Yeah.
And that was a great game. It was a game they were coming in firing on all cylinders, the Eel Penguins, and they were able just to basically play that style of rugby that ATL does. Just take all the wind out of your attack, pin you down in the corner, force you to come out deep. And I think they've got some good additions this year. I actually found Skulkwork's been very good at 10. I didn't anticipate him being as good as he is. But, I think this is a big game for ATL. And who knows, when's Ghetto come back?
I don't know. I mean, injuries are different when you're getting up into the 40s. You just don't heal like a young person in their 20s. So I'm not sure. But I think ATL as well here. And unless there's some Giteau at 10 or something that LA do here, that's a tough road trip. So, and ATL, that would definitely keep them. They've got to stay in touch with New England on the East to get that 1 seed locked up. All right, moving on, hour and a half later, 4:30, it's Utah on the road at New England. Is this a danger game for the Free Jacks?
I mean, I think so. I think every game now coming off of kind of the form streak that they're on, this is one of the tough things to do is when you're in a situation like this and you're so hot and you see one eye on the playoffs, is how do you motivate yourself week in, week out? Now, the fortunate thing for them, 5 of their 6 games are at home to finish. 5 of 6.
That's nice.
Isn't that nice? I mean, can you pick a better way to finish a season?
How close are they to locking up a guaranteed playoff spot? Not the number 1 seed, like a guaranteed playoff spot.
I don't know.
Not to put you on the spot here.
You're going to put me on the spot.
Into the archives. It's going to dig in here.
Let's get in deep here.
We don't have Stats Boy today as well. The whole thing's just falling apart today. It's fantastic. But they've got to be getting close.
I think 2 more in their end. They'd have to be close. 42, 2 more.
12 points. Yeah. Toronto's 12 points back.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So a maximum of 25 points, 12 back. So it'd have two more.
I think 2 more.
Yeah, it's close. 10 points in Toronto in terms of getting up there with them. Well, that's interesting. It's good. It's got to be good for ticket sales too. Once you know you're in the playoffs, and especially if you're going to have a home game, sell that thing out. All right, I'll go New England as well there in that one against Utah. San Diego at Dallas. San Diego, you said some more injuries. The Legion have been banged up this year. It's been a tough year on the injury front for San Diego. If anyone's had it worse, it's probably Dallas.
Yeah, I think they're the first team to statistically be eliminated.
Officially
eliminated from playoff contention.
2023 Dallas Jackals fans start preparing.
I think San Diego's got too much firepower in this one.
Yeah, I agree. No issues coming out of that game on the cards, right? For Bowman or Nonu, there was nothing there that you referred.
I don't think so.
Yeah. Well, the way Aaron Castro wields punishment in this league, you never know. I mean, you sneeze and you get in 3 weeks. Castro, just kidding, Aaron. We love you. You're the best. See you next week. Don't get angry at me. All right, moving on to Sunday, 3 p.m. Eastern. It's NOLA at New York. New York, if there's a team in this list that is desperate for a win, it's this one. And NOLA, you remember this is the game last year, I think, where NOLA had to go up there and win by 40 and they got smoked. So a little bit of vengeance maybe on their minds. But hard to see a situation here where New York lose this game.
No, I think they've got to, and if we see Nahola play as well, that would be a good one.
Look out, administrative issues.
And you got, so that as outside backs, I mean, last week was interesting. They just, I think they turned over they had that card to Ellis at that stage, and then, that was that quick tap advantage, and that Walker puts that little chip and chase over with the advantage and is able to score. They just, I think they felt like they were in with a chance. I think there was maybe a little bit of controversy at the last game with how the play ended. They marched all the way downfield, and it looked like they were actually in a position because they turned the ball over. So New England was trying to close out the game. New York turns the ball over. They get all the way down towards the goal line, and the ball kind of spits out the side of the ruck. And after the game, you heard Savetta went up to the ref and said, look, well, can you not review that with a TMO? Because that was foul play. Because he's saying, I think it was Larson had gotten the ball in there, and I think it came off his shin or something and spit out the side of the ruck. So in that situation, where does the law, was he raking the ball back? Because if he's raking the ball back, that's legal and that's fine, but you can't kick the ball through a ruck.
Yeah.
So the ref was in a good position. He made a call, but there was a controversy that ended that game, and that was really in a position where New York, they were within meters of the goal line, and they could have put that game away. So
it's almost become like difficult to trust the TMO this year, though. Like even, and this is not a knock on the people who are acting as the TMO. It's just the resources aren't there to give them the evidence they need to make a call, whether it be correct or not. So you're always going to have these situations with, the public detectives who can go back and look at the film and kind of do this stuff. But in the moment, it's tough call. I agree. Like Savetta, like it is now kicking the ball out of a ruck is considered a foul. Yeah. Like it's a penalty. So it's interesting. And in the complex of the season, does it come back and haunt New York? Maybe. Then it becomes a bigger issue, but they should have put that game away. They had opportunities up to that point. They just kept turning the ball over and not showing enough patience at the back end of the game where they had the lead to play territory and defend well.
And probably didn't execute the kicking game as well as New England. New England, I mean, one of their tries came off a great up and under, and I think it was a ball that came up and regathered it, and the ball spits out, and I think Bellicana danced in the corner. But you look at the teams that are kind of distancing themselves with the teams that are executing with the kicking game. Like, we don't talk about it enough. I think in that game there was even a 50-22 by Jesse Parity that put him in a really good position at the beginning of the game. So, what is a loose forward doing? Is he any business doing that?
Must be the initials. JP.
Yeah.
We've all seen the kicking game. It is fascinating. I think it'll be one of the next big jumps in standards in Major League Rugby is kicking, because we've seen it like now in like high-end rugby, it like cancels it outright.
Yeah.
We've got really strong back threes where we still have that kind of transition here where we have these athletes coming into the game that you like put on wing. And then, you get the ball down there and you watch them kick and you're like, oof. It's like, watching you and I play golf. It's like, oh, like it looks like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's terrible. But the team that kind of invests the time and starts working on like a strong back 3, 9, 10, and even like loose forwards but having the ability to kick, I think that you're going to see like the ability to close out games becoming a lot stronger.
And I think as the defense gets a bit more structured. So, if you look at how New England kicks and you look at the way they're kicking a game, so when stuff gets a bit unstructured for them and the defense becomes structured. So what they're trying to do is turn that around, and you watch them, they'll put up and under.
Yeah.
Just as a reset play, because, what's the worst that can happen? Yeah. So you get up there and you put pressure, you turn over possession, but you're in a bad position anyway. You don't have a lot of options on attack. What they're looking for is they're shifting the point of attack. So that up and under creates another unstructured passage of play.
Yeah.
And that's where you've got these dual 10s on there. So then you create a different look on the defense. All of a sudden, rather than going against an organized defense that's pinning you off the sideline, now you're midfield, you've recovered the up and under, the defense is chasing, and you've got two pivots attacking either sideline.
Yeah. And what's the instinct? On a kick like that, up and under, everyone floods.
And you see the space back on the outside.
He should coach. Give him a call. Utah Warriors, give him a call. Loves Utah. He's always telling me, he goes, I love Utah. Can't wait to get back to Salt Lake, get up into those mountains.
It is pretty, isn't it?
It's fantastic. It is. You know what I love about Utah? We're going to go off it again. Is the mountains are just right there.
They're just, you can touch them.
I stayed at the University of Utah and like literally left the dorm and ran. No joke.
Into the mountains?
Ran like straight up until there was like rattlesnake signs. I was like, ooh, I'm out. But yeah, gorgeous Utah. But yeah, I agree with you. And funny you mentioned Utah, because at the end of that game, still with a chance, aimlessly just kicked the ball away. It's like, what? Like what? Like surely, like after 5 years, like that's not how you're losing. Yeah. Don't give them the ball.
Yeah.
Keep the ball. But oh well. Oh, well. Was that it?
No,
one more game. We
got one more.
I've just gone off in another world.
This is a big one.
I can't do shows with people sitting next to me. I'm like way too distracted. I'm used to falling asleep when Pete's going on like his 101. Do you want to do a 101? Pete usually does one. We've kind of talked kicking. But
did we talk kicking? What should we, 101, how not to get carded in the league?
Not to get carded. Well, you and I just did the best thing, just avoid all physical contact. And you can't get a red card. Have you ever been red carded?
Never red carded. No, I think that would have to involve me being physical.
I had one.
Yeah,
I had one.
What happened?
Can I leave out like specifics? Because
what did you?
It's incriminating.
What did you say to the referee? What did you yelled at her?
No. Playing club rugby when I first got over here, and I wasn't exactly eligible because I just got here and I played under an alias. And turns out that I got hit late a few times, took exception to it and chased the guy to the next ruck and then just unloaded one.
Good wolf.
Oh, good.
Right in front of the ref.
Real cheap shot too.
Yeah.
It was a cheap shot for a cheap shot. Like he initiated the cheap shotting ness, and I reciprocated with one. I gave him a receipt to the punishment he inflicted on me. And I forgot my alias. I forgot the name that I was playing under. And he goes, "What's your name?" He pulled his pad out to write the name and red card. And I'm like, I just totally forgot who I was. And so I just turned around and started walking before he even carded me. And he kept yelling. And then the manager is like running out trying to whisper the name without getting caught whispering the name. He's like, "Oh, James Patterson. James Patterson." Stopped and turned around and I said, "Oh, I'm James Patterson." And then he's like, pulls the red card out. Go on, skis. It was a playoff game, and we ended up losing. So that was it.
And how many games did he get banned for?
Five games, yeah. Funny enough, someone that looked exactly like him was playing week 1 the next season. One red card. Okay, Seattle, Austin. Sorry.
I think, no, we'll keep going. No, it's good. Seattle, Austin.
Yeah,
this is a big one.
For Seattle, huge.
Big one for Seattle, because after this, they get the Jackals, so they can get on a bit of a roll before they play New York. So Seattle, I mean, this is kind of the moment for them. this game. How do you beat Austin? How do you beat them?
Off-field drama was the only time they've lost games this year is when they had that uncertainty around the club. I think Sam Harris and Mark Gerard have done a good job of like turning that insular and creating almost like an us versus the world mentality, a siege mentality in that team, and they've responded. Take out Julian Dominguez. You know, what was Happy Gilmore? Was it the Volkswagen? Is there someone at Red Lobster in Seattle with a Volkswagen that's friends with Shooter McGavin that can take out Julian Dominguez? Because that's your only chance this weekend.
It's him. It's O'Keefe. You take out him, then you got to look after O'Keefe. Yeah, like, how good is
heck of a year
he's had a great year.
Yeah.
Then they're just littered across. You just got to keep the ball out of their hands.
And Mac Mason's been out the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, and that's
Will McGee.
Yeah.
He's fine wine.
Yeah.
He's just been sitting in at the country club in Austin, just working on his short game. And all of a sudden, Sam Harris is like, hey, you're still contracted. You need to play. And he's like, okay, gets out there and he's just boom, boom. He's at the finish line, Bill, but he's playing good footy. So it's hard to see a path to victory here for Seattle. You know what they do have? They have a very big physical pack now with Landry, Duratalo, Samu Manoa, Ricard Hadding, and who am I forgetting? Nakai Penny. Like, if they can be healthy and have everyone in there, that's where they can win. Just that, if they can keep it tight, really slow the ball down for Austin at the breakdown, and then keep it tight and just bang away, and then hit those holes inside and outside 10 with their forwards. When they go a little wide, they can sometimes get a little isolated, a little inexperienced. And geez, I hope Lepetti's okay too. Took another knock to the head. Stop hurting that kid. He's the damn future of the sport over here. So if you're playing against him, just white gloves. Don't stop it. You're going to ruin everything. Got money on him being the next, superstar.
I think this is a tough one on the road too. I mean, if you said it was in Seattle with a bit of momentum,
Saturday night
in Seattle, maybe there's just a little bit of that mist in the air, just kind of to take a little bit of the vinegar out of the attack.
See. Whoa! So that's just reverberating off that old.
Because it does. I mean, it makes a difference. And for some reason, that field plays narrow up there.
Yeah, it does. I think it is.
It might be narrow. It feels narrow. The crowd's on top of you. So when you take, it's not like when you go and play at the Coliseum. It's not actually that wide, but it feels wide because you're, from a vision perspective and the way you utilize space, it feels like you've got acres of it because you're surrounded. In Seattle, it feels narrow. So teams, when they go up there, even if they are attacking teams, everything just looks a little bit narrower how they play there.
Yeah,
so
that's a good point.
I think Austin has too much, but it's not out of reach. So if Seattle just controls possession and territory against them, Austin are human. They make mistakes. Yeah, we know that, and they've had a few issues with discipline in games where they've given away successions of penalties. And if you use that to your advantage, take the points when you got them. And I think Seattle, this is their point. If they win this game, then they knock one of the tough games off their list because everyone's going to play Austin. Yeah. So someone's got to beat Austin to go through, technically. Yeah. If all things are equal. So,
who's your rookie of the year so far? Lepetti?
He's been good. He's been good.
Who else can touch him?
I mean, Fido, but he's not a.
No. You got to be.
You got to be like a rookie.
Yeah. Like this is your first year of professional rugby.
No, you can't. I don't think anyone can touch him.
I'm going through who was picked in the draft. Naposki looked good at Dallas before he got hurt. Haven't seen much of Emmanuel Albert down in Houston. The little sample size I've had has been good. But yeah, Lepetti has to be.
Because he's like, he changes the way defense is defend. He plays so flat and so aggressively at the line too. Like his ability to be able to run, especially when you see him in the background, when they start getting a few of their big forward runners, like if you see someone Manoa or someone make a break, look in the outside of the screen. You've got Lepetti just waiting just to see his shoulder turn and he's just going to hit a flat ball.
He comes in.
Yeah.
Smart player, isn't he?
Yeah.
OB did a good job with him at St. Mary's. I mean, obviously super talented, naturally gifted. He's got a great, team behind him with his family. He's a very grounded kid. We had him on the show a couple of weeks ago, just a great human being. But just he sharpens his tools constantly. Yeah. Like he's always getting better and better. This sounds really bad, but for his development, I'd love to see him go Super Rugby. Like even if it's for 6 months, just to go down there, go to like a really good program in New Zealand and have, hey, we're going to bring you in full time. No promises on super games, but you're going to train with us and just like osmosis, like sucking up all that information, all those little things, and then he comes back. I think that'd be really cool.
I think that goes two ways. We talk about wanting to send players down there, but let's look at a few examples of players that are coming here that can go back and make an impact. So you take a player in New Zealand, he's always played like in a super competitive level, and he's always kind of been the guy under a guy under a guy. You know, and so he's in the wider training group, and down there he lacks the opportunities and lacks the confidence. He comes plays MLR open. He can like raise his hand. He has to do a little bit more than his role in a position, and he kind of builds out that skill set to be able to go back and compete.
A bit more confidence, I see, like a boating Walker.
Like a Walker.
Is he young enough to go back?
I don't think so. I think he's too old now.
Isn't that crazy?
You look at these kids. What are they picking them? What's the series you watched on? They're picking guys.
Oh, it's
high school
on the Rugby Pass. Yeah, the season. You watched the high school stuff, and I watched one in the main ones I've watched have been in Australia. I think Nudgee was one. They did Brisbane Boys College for 2 years because they lost it and then they won it the year after. But there's one in New Zealand, and they had the starting 10. And I'm watching this kid play. I'm like, that kid is like amazing. Like the skill set that he has at 17 was something that I would have seen in a 10 in their mid to late 20s. Like 20 years ago. And he's possessing like this, the way he's reading, the way he's talking. I'm like, man, this is like such a mature. And he was the backup. And all of a sudden the drama builds up. Like their stars fly half. He's coming back from injury. I'm like, hang on, that's the backup? And then the other guy come in and it's like, wow, unreal. All right, JP, what else?
Let's go 101.
What do you want?
We'll go 101. Let's talk about like the right option, at the wrong time. And we're going to go and we can pull this up after. Ginty can pull it up after. But I want to go back to the try where Hooley crossfield kicks against the runner play to a winger who faked tying a shoelace on the corner within 10 meters of the goal line. So it's runs completely against everything you guys are taught as players down there. You've got possession, you're driving down, pivotal moment in the game, and all of a sudden, that's the experience and the vision to be able to execute something like that. So we're talking about a situation, Rugby 101. So, the right play at the wrong time. Can it work?
It did.
It did. Why doesn't it work more often?
Hey, one more inspirational quote for the kids. It's never the wrong time to do the right thing.
There you go.
Literally. Do you want? I know you love my stories. Similar play that we had drawn up where I would take the ball in and fake an injury, and I'd be down, and then they came back to me, and it didn't work, and they smashed me. And then the guy's like, "Now you can really stay down." And then said to mother, I won't say it. It's a PG show, so I won't say what. But basically, like faking an injury was not looked kindly upon, and it didn't work. So it was the wrong time to do the wrong thing. So it's the opposite of James's point.
We've seen it a couple of times this year. There's been
just the dropout changed the way that teams are going to kick down there as well, knowing that the worst case is we get a goal line dropout.
I mean, yeah, I think so. But do you take that? You're within 10 meters.
Yeah, but we've seen through the first 5 years that the most difficult part of the field to score in for most teams seems to be that last 10 meters. That execution seems to break down, whether it's patience, execution, or whatever. Like everything, it seems this MLR's played in between the 22s, it feels like, most of the time, which makes it exciting and fun to watch. But like as a coach, there's a reason all the coaches are grey after 2 years because it's hard, tears your heart out watching your team work so hard. Like Austin last year, Sam Harris had like beautiful black hair. He looked like a Greek god. At the end of the year, he was grey and weathered. It was like Austin would get all the way down there and then just turn it over or lose the ball. You're like, oh my God. Yeah.
I think it's just come down to like defense is genuinely getting better in the league.
I agree.
So the defense is getting better, and I don't think the attack is increasing at the same level that the defense have caught up. Because if you watch some of the attack, and then, so now you see, like, this is where the level and class comes in. You've seen Hooley do it multiple times in the season, guys like Jason Emery, like in these situations during the game, they're thinking when they do these things, these plays that might be the right play at the wrong time, they're thinking about what it does to the defense on the next set.
Yeah.
So next time they're down there, they're not going to leave, they're going to have a couple guys out on that side, and then what's that do to the defense? It just pulls the defense across, and then it gives you two options to attack. Because if you watch that play, everyone's stacked out to the right, all the forwards are there, and it's just a good heads-up one-on-one play on the blind side. Next time they're down there, that guy's out there, that guy inside, you know, the post is saying, hey, nudge out, I need some help. I need some help here. Yeah. And that just widens the defense up.
It's funny, it goes almost back to your point on the kicking game, is manipulating your far.
Yeah.
Like with a good kicking game can help that pull that winger further and further back, which gets 13 more and more nervous. All of a sudden you fake the kick and play out the back, and 13's like, oh my, I've got a decision to make. I know my winger's coming, but he's back 30 meters. So
there's a kick, and it's that being able to play flat and broken play on the line with an inside ball against the rush defense. And Walker's done that beautifully throughout the season. It was an awesome example of that in the weekend. Just off broken play, defense is blitzing in off the outside, and he takes a real flat ball to the line and just feeds that inside ball to beat that cover defense.
Here's a clip, if Gins can find this one. Nola did it perfectly. Coleman inside the Feeks on the weekend, because they had a couple of good runs, and then it opened up. Coleman takes the line on hard, and then you got that lazy inside defender who was just, you know, tired, couldn't get there one more time. Feeks off the wing, boom, inside. Pull it up, Ginty. Let's see it. And Nola needs some love anyway. I feel like they're getting the short end of the stick here on this show, just because they stink. Just kidding, Nola. Although in the summer it does smell pretty bad down on Bourbon Street. So that's fair call from me there. All right, buddy. Anything else? Wrap it up. Put her in the old vice script. There you go. Oh, he still got it. He's still got it. James Patterson. For Pato. For the Panther, for Ryan Ginty. We miss you, Aaron Castro. We miss you, Pete Steinberg. This has been the MLR Kickoff, and we'll catch you next time.